Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to talk about my Timeless Tomes project for 2021. So technically this is a continuation of 2020 when I started reading my big classics that are over 500 pages, and I really loved my journey of 2020 and I continued on, and I've got to tell you, it started to not be good in 2021. I started to have really bad classics reading experiences, at least during my time. But I am very thankful that I actually did this. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go through the books that I read and my thoughts, or not my thoughts, but my ranking of the books that I read over 2021. And yeah, that's all we're gonna do in this one. I really just wanted to kind of do an update on how I was feeling about this project, which I am excited for the continuing year. I feel like these projects are starting off hard at the beginning, and at the beginning of this year, I did not feel excited. I had a couple really bad books, at least for me, and I'm gonna start off with them because let's start off with a ranking. And the very lowest book that I had read this year was the second Timeless Tome book that I read, and that was Villette by Charlotte Bronte. I loathed this book, and I only finished it because I was reading it for a Timeless Tome project. I was also buddy reading it, and I wanted to finish it off because I want to read all of the Bronte's work one day. So I finished it for that reason. This book was a 1-star. It was one of the worst books I've ever read in my recent years. So there's that. The first book that I actually finished for this project was shortly right behind it in the ratings, and that it'd be The Three Musketeers. I read this over 2 months, and I only finished it because of this project. I have to laugh because it's just the way I was like, this is not going well. I had so much success in 2020 finding books I loved, so many books I was passionate about. And then this happened. I was so mad over the course of the first 3 months. I was like, I am not doing this anymore. But of course, I was not gonna stop doing this. I just needed a little bit of a break. So I gave The Three Musketeers 2 stars. Really didn't like that book. And I should also say that if you are at all interested in my reviews, I have the playlist full of reviews with spoilers and spoiler-free in case you're interested in spoiler-free. But spoilers are full in all of these reviews. And of course, the ranty ones are there too. Now that's the end of the ranty though, because then we're going up into my middle-of-the-road books. Because I did have some middle-of-the-road books, but those were, so number 7 on this list was actually a Gaskell book, which is really sad. This was one of my October books. That was Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. One of my October books that I just really did not love, but it got 3 stars, so it had good points, and I talked about it fully. And then shortly after that, I actually put into place, at least in this ranking, shortly after that, was The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. So I really liked that one, considering it was like, I don't know how long old, like 500 years old. Really enjoyed that, considering that it was so old, and I really appreciated reading such an old piece of literature too. So that was also 3 stars. In 5th place, I would put The Moonstone, which I gave 4 stars to. This is by Wilkie Collins. I also read it for October, and it was a book I walked away feeling kind of impartial about, but I did enjoy a lot of elements of it. And then after that, I had a real struggle with this, I gotta say. So in 4th place, I put Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. And that's because the reading experience of the other 3 books that I have on this list, I knew what to expect with Mansfield Park. And that's why Mansfield Park is in 4th place. The other ones just edged it out a little bit. So it was really great though, and Mansfield Park always gets a 4-star from me. It's a really great book, but not a 5-star. My most recent acquisition to this list, which is one that I really want to talk about, and I read it for December, is Great Expectations. This one got 4 stars, and it is in the 3rd spot for this year. I really enjoyed it, and I can't believe that it beat Mansfield Park for 3rd spot. But I didn't know what to expect, and I thoroughly enjoyed picking it up. and reading every second of it. So that's why it beats out Mansfield Park, because I did not know what I was expecting while I was walking in. Second place goes to Wives and Daughters. It's a 5-star book, but it was just edged out by book number 1, which was Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This one I read over the course of 2.5 months, and I have a lot of content about that in live streams if you want to check that out. But man, I really loved reading Les Mis, and I loved the experience of reading with everybody. So I think the thing that I really learned this year about reading my big classics. So last year I learned that I enjoy reading big classics. That's the big thing I took away from last year, was I enjoyed reading them and learning about the themes, and I loved reading them and discovering, oh, I can actually do this. And then this year, I discovered I love the experience of reading the big classics with other people. So even though I read these bad books, for me at least, being Villette and The Three Musketeers, I buddy read them with people who had interesting thoughts and I could dialogue with them. And I really enjoyed that aspect, even though the books were not good in my opinion, or I really struggled with the content. So I really appreciated that I had those experiences, even though the reading material wasn't the greatest. And then when it came to books that I really loved and stand out this year for being amazing quality, the books that stand out were like Les Mis, because it just had this amazing experience of reading it and discussing it with so many people for so long this summer. And that's never going to go away. That's going to be something that sticks with me my whole life, I think. So it's just when it comes to those reading experiences, I think that's what I'm taking away this year for my Timeless Tomes project, is buddy reading these books was incredible. And The Moonstone, even though it kind of left me wanting more, I had a great time reading it with Berna. And I think I know that the books that I don't love are the ones I still want to read with others, because that's what I gain quality out of. I gain the quality of sharing it with someone and talking about it with someone. And that's why I think it's really important for me to share that experience with other people. I think that's why I loved this year's journey, even though I hated some of the books. I really loved the aspect of sharing my thoughts with others and then waiting for their thoughts to come back to me and being able to discuss that, even if our thoughts weren't always the same. And that made it more fun too. So I guess the question is, will I be continuing this next year? And the answer is yes. I have loved doing this. I have found that I love reading short books this year, but I love reading my big timeless tomes, my big classics that are over 500 pages. I love that experience, and I love sinking my teeth into those novels, and I loved finding those classics that actually fit other challenges too. So when it came to Ancients-a-thon, I loved finding an ancient literature like the Canterbury Tales, which I really had to struggle through at times, but I loved the experience of reading something that was ancient and over 500 pages. So I could really knock off something while learning something new and testing my limits. So I'm going to try that continuing forward. I'm going to continue challenging myself with big classics, continuing to challenge myself with classics that I might not be super familiar with, authors I'm not super familiar with. I'm going to try my best, but at the same time, I am a little scared because some things I'm going to read that I swore I would never read. And one of those things is Gone with the Wind. I said I would never read Gone with the Wind, and I'm going to try. I'm going to do that, or at least I'm going to attempt to do that in 2022. I have watched the movie that's so long that it's in like multiple parts. I watched that and I hated it. But I'm hoping that I can watch it, or not watch it, but read it and enjoy it. So I'm going to be reading that in the upcoming year. I am going to be testing my limits with different things like that and seeing what I can do, how are different things I can grow in, and also trying different authors out and seeing what their big classics might be like and seeing if I can enjoy them as well. So please let me know down below in the comments some authors that you think I should try out for classics wise. Just a reminder that my standard is 500 pages in any edition, so it can be 400 pages in the edition that you have. but it can be 500 pages in any edition that is out there in the world. And also, I would love to hear your thoughts on some of your favorites of this list that I have had or this year that I've read from. I know that it is really interesting with classics how they can be so divisive and can really separate a community, but I think it's great to have a community that can be interactive over something, even if we don't all share the same thoughts. So please let me know down below in the comments some books I should check out, some authors I should check out, and your thoughts on these classics I have read, or if you're gonna try some big classics yourself and you'd like to buddy read any classics with me. I do have a shelf on Goodreads that I will link down below with my timeless tome books that I have owned or I have plans to read in the future, and you can always message me if you have plans to read one of those as well and you'd like to buddy read it. And then we can make plans to do so because, like I said, the experience is something I have really picked up on this year, and I have loved doing the reading experience with others. So please let me know if you'd like to buddy read as well any of these big classics. I am not going to mention all the ones I own here, but let me tell you, they're all up there. And there's more. And they're all on that list, or there are more in the world that I have not discovered yet. So I would like to discuss that with you. So please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you are new here. And I would also recommend you checking out my Timeless Tomes playlist for any of these big classics if you want my individual reviews of last year's videos or this year's videos. And I will talk to you next time. Bye for now.